So this is a starter that I've neglected on purpose for you. So we could do this together because I feel like it's pretty common for people to start a starter, try and make sourdough bread, and then it's overwhelming or they have a couple failures and it's like, they hibernate and they go and hibernate this thing in the fridge and they forget about it. So I've forgotten about this. Actually, I've been watching it break down for the last 10 weeks. So it's been 10 weeks unfed. And you can see like that gray layer of liquid. That's what people call the hooch. It's like the alcohol separating out as it had fermented. You can see inside, it is not pretty, but I'm going to, it doesn't smell like super offensive, just smells kind of sour. We're gonna feed it. We're gonna bring it back to life. I'm gonna keep the hooch, that gray liquid in it, and I'm just gonna mix it, so noisy. Just gonna mix it back in. And I know there's 250 grams of starter in here. I'm not gonna discard. I'm just gonna wake it up. We'll see what it does and then we can decide what we need to do from there. But I am not throwing away any starter. I hate throwing away starter. Oh yeah, should probably put it on a scale. My water is pre-measured and there is 55 grams of water. And then we're gonna go 55 grams of flour, mix it together, see what this thing does, bring it back to life. So if you've watched the activating your starter video or starting your starter, we're just feeding it. And we're feeding it a small meal. We're not giving it a 1-to-1-to-1 ratio. Just gonna give it like a snack and get it going. And then we can decide what we're doing. Because with sourdough, there's a lot of guidelines, very few hard, fast rules. And I'm cool with there being a little bit of lumpiness in here. It's okay, it's like time release food. It doesn't have to be perfectly smooth. Although this is much wetter than I'm used to. All right, let's see, a rubber band? I thought I brought one out here. No? Rubber band. Okay, let's scrape this down so we can see. There we go, clean-ish. Lid, loose. And we're just gonna mark it, the rubber band just to mark our level, so when it does expand, we know how much and how far it has gone. Okay, so I lost touch with video at the end of the night when it was bedtime. And I know we're here at the end. Here's the bread that I ended up making with that starter that I recovered. So we mixed all the hooch in, we fed it 55 water, 55 flour, and let it sit on the counter. And by the time I got to like 10 p.m., it just wasn't a good time to make a video. So sorry, here I am, I'm trying to make it up, trying to fill in the gaps a little bit. It made a little bit of expansion, and I'll overlay the image of what it looked like right here. Here it is, here's the image. This is what it looked like before I went to bed. And I decided that I wanted to give it more food because I really just gave it a snack, right? In terms of the volume, there's 250 grams of starter. I didn't give it much to eat. So I was worried that like overnight it was gonna, kind of consume all that food and then need to be fed in the morning anyway. And I was thinking like, okay, if I have all this hooch and all this, kind of broken down old starter, what kind of off flavors am I gonna get in my first batch of dough? I want to see if I can prevent having a weird first loaf. Because sometimes that happens. You get a weird first loaf and then the second one's good. So I did the thing that I never do. I did a discard. And of the, I guess it would have been, like 310 grams of total starter I had, I got rid of all of it except for 100 grams. I put it in a fresh mason jar. I fed it 50 grams of flour, 50 grams of water, mixed it all around, scraped down the sides, put a rubber band on it, and when I woke up in the morning, it looked like this. So it expanded, it did its thing, it looked healthy, it was active, and at 7 a.m. I started this loaf of bread. I started a batch of dough. I did these guys together. They were kind of going side by side. So stretch, fold, dough, 500 gram batch of flour, 75% hydration water. These really are exactly the same. This is a batch of bread that I made with dried starter that I dried and rehydrated. If you want to check out how that works so you can take your starter and travel with it and make bread on vacation, I'll link that in the description. I did that in Hawaii this past fall and it worked out great. So I did the discard, and that's kind of what you missed. And I think going by feel with some of these things where you're troubleshooting, because I mean basically you're troubleshooting, you kind of make some decisions on the fly. And just based on experience, I felt like the discard was important to be able to make it so this first loaf of bread tastes like I would expect it to, without any weird off flavors or overly sourness or weird metallic, flavor. Regular sourdough round method of bread, dough making, bread baking, and that's really kind of all you missed. You just missed the discard, which I never do, but it seemed like the right thing at the time, and it worked out really nice. Okay, so here's the dough that we made with the starter that looked like it was dead. Had the gray water floating on top, the hooch. Okay, so the process went like this. I had 250 grams of that ugly starter. I didn't discard any. I fed it 55 water, 55 flour, mixed it together. That was at like 4 in the afternoon. I let it go until about 10 when it was time for me to go to bed, and I decided to discard. And I discarded down to 100 grams. And then I fed it 50 grams of water and 50 grams of flour. The next morning, boom, filled the jar, ready to go, make bread. So I did. So this dough is more than 24 hours old. I made it at 7 a.m. yesterday. And it's about, what is it, 2 o'clock right now? 1:30. So it's been in the Banneton for a good amount of time. So let's bake it. This is, regular procedure that we would do if you were to, follow along with the sourdough round playlist. That would be, I'll just link to it. Like if you want to, if you found this video and you're like, how do I make sourdough bread? Look in the description. There's instructions. So I'm gonna give this some wobbles. I opted not to use a linen napkin, dinner napkin, to line the Banneton because it gets better texture this way, even though you have to be more patient to get it out. So I'm gonna wobble this around until it releases. I'm just using gravity, I don't wanna be too aggressive. It's almost let go. It's so close. It's been at least 5 minutes. You just gotta be patient sometimes. But if you don't use dinner napkin, you gotta be patient. It's like stuck right here. I'm just waiting for it to let go. I want it to go gently when it's ready. Don't get to that point where your brain says, oh, it's a lost cause, screw it, I'm gonna rip it off. Don't do it, because if you're patient, it will let go. And your brain's gonna tell you, we ruined it, just rip it off. Don't do it. It's gonna be fine. See, look at that. And it's even gonna bounce back in. Totally cool. No damage. All right, my cast iron's in the oven because that's how we're doing this, in a cast iron. I'm gonna leave all this flour on here because I think it's gonna look cool, help define some of those spirals. We got a razor blade to score it. I'm ready. And I'm just gonna go single cut as if I were scoring a round. I'm just gonna get it to pop up like one ear. I like it. Here we go, into the cast iron. Timer, 20, no. Oh, timer, 23. Okay, so we'll take a look at that in 23 minutes. And then after that, we'll just go the rest of the way, just bread in the oven to get some color. All right, we're at the end of 23 minutes. Turn off my timer. This is always the fun part. It's like, what's it gonna look like? It's gonna look like that. And that looks pretty good to me. Got a nice cute little ear. All right, back in the oven. Let's finish cooking this loaf of bread. Looks really nice, got a nice expansion. Got nice spirals from our Banneton. So I'll keep going with that until it's all golden brown and amazing, probably another 20 minutes. And then we'll take a look at it and then we'll cool it off for a couple hours and get into it. Here we go, this is it. This is our final product from the starter that we recovered, that we saved, that we brought back to life. And that is a beautiful little loaf of bread. Awesome spirals from the Banneton. Cute little ear. You know, not a huge ear, but this is a round, not an oval, so it's about what I'd expect. Nice color in the bottom. Hollow. All right, I'll let this cool off, and then in 2 hours we'll get into it and see what kind of flavor it has. Kind of wondering, like, is it going to have any off flavors or taste kind of funky because of the hooch that it had developed in the 10 weeks that it was neglected in the refrigerator. But we'll see. This is a pretty loaf of bread. This is the loaf of bread that I made with the starter that looked like it was dead with all the gray liquid on top. It's been cooling off for a couple hours. You cut it open, take a look at the crumb, you know, the interior texture, and we'll give it a taste. A nice crust. It's nice and light for its size. We've got some nice air pockets. It's soft on the inside. How's it smell? I would say it smells like it has like a touch more sour than like my regular starter. And if you let your starter go to that point where it's looking really wrecked, it might take like a batch, like this batch might be a little off, and then the next one would be better. Nope, it's awesome. Yeah, no off flavor. It's actually not super sour, even though it has kind of a nice sourness in the nose and the aroma of it. Yeah. If you end up neglecting your starter and you pull it out of the fridge and maybe it looks worse, maybe it's got a darker layer of liquid than mine did, you can save it. You can absolutely save it. All is not lost. Do not throw it away. That is ridiculous. You can certainly bring it back to life. It's pretty resilient. It's sourdough starter, the dough, everything's pretty durable, and you can really customize it to fit into your life. It's just a matter of having the time and the patience to troubleshoot things and, adjust.